Hi, this is samsorbo. I want to invite you all to join me at the Playbook for Home Learning Conference put on by Underground Education. There's a new community that started online called the Underground Education Community. You can find it by going to samsorbo.com. You can also find all the information about the conference, about how to approach education with your kids. Times are hard for parents right now. There's a lot going on in the schools that we don't like. But I'll tell you something, home learning is easier than you ever thought it could be and more fun than you ever imagined. So join me at the Your Playbook for Home Learning Conference this June 24-25 in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And we're going to have a great time. Go to samsorbo.com for more information on everything. I'll see you there. You've heard me talk about Mike Lindell, who I adore. You know, he's the inventor of MyPillow, and how that pillow has given me a good night's sleep that I need. In fact, I never knew how good I could sleep before I had my MyPillow. Mike continues to roll out new offers on his products, and the latest one is on his towel sets. Towels aren't something you think about often. I never knew what I was missing until I tried the towels just last year. Now, you have all helped build MyPillow into the incredible company that it is today, and you've trusted Mike Lindell to give you a great night's sleep. Mike's now changing the game with his 6-piece towel set. The set's made with USA cotton, making it extremely absorbent, and yet still providing that soft feel you look for in a towel. The set comes with 2 bath, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths, typically retailing for $109.99. But for a limited time, you can get this set for the low price of $39.99. And that's using promo code samsorbo. So remember, all MyPillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. You just go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener specials to get this insanely low price of $39.99 on the towel set. You'll find deep discounts on other MyPillow products as well. So enter promo code samsorbo, or you can call 800-625-5983. That's 800-625-5983 for these great radio specials. Hey, this is samsorbo for the samsorbo Show. Listen, I want to talk to you about this article up on Fox News, which, you know, I'm not tuning into Fox News too often anymore, but at least 135 teachers and teachers' aides have been charged with child sex crimes. 102 of the cases, or 76%, involved alleged sex crimes against students. So I suppose the other 24% were just sex crimes in general. At least 135 teachers and teachers' aides have been arrested so far this year. Just this year. We're not even halfway through the year. On child sex-related crimes in the U.S., ranging from child pornography to actually raping students. But hey, trust the schools. Your kids are safe, except for all the sex and the shootings and the other general ideology that's taught to children in schools. This is an analysis that was conducted by Fox News Digital. They looked at all the local news stories week by week featuring the arrests of teachers and teachers' aides on child sex-related crimes in school districts across the country. Arrests that weren't publicized were not counted in the analysis, meaning the true number may well be higher because they might not have reported on it. Teacher at elite sports academy accused of having sexual relationship with undergraduate student. So at least 135 teachers and teachers' aides have been arrested in 41 states between January 1st and May 13th. Works out to about an arrest a day on average. Most of the arrested educators were men, because men tend to be aggressors. So that sort of makes sense. I suppose. Of the 135 educators, they included 117 teachers and only 11 teachers' aides. There were also 7 substitute teachers. So police in California charged Anthony James Phillips, a 61-year-old former teacher at Cupertino Middle School in Sunnyvale, with aggravated sexual assault of a child, forcible penetration with a foreign object. I can't even, right? And forcible penetration with a foreign object upon a child. Apparently, those are two different things. He's accused of raping a student in 2009 when he was still a teacher at Cupertino. So wait, maybe that's the same case. I'm not sure. Anessa Page Gower, a 35-year-old former biology teacher at Making Waves Academy in Richmond, California, charged with 29 counts of child molestation on April 8th. 29 counts. She's accused of sexually abusing 7 students between 2021 and 2022, 7 students while she was a teacher there. Allegations including forcible sodomy of minors, sharing sexually graphic photos over online platforms. She's due back in court on June 2nd. I just want to say, after we had, so this is going back several years, and forgive me if I repeat myself, but I was on the air full time. So I remember this sort of happening in real time. The story came out that in a Baltimore school, 2 middle schoolers beat another middle schooler to death. And within the hour, the school superintendent had announced at a press conference, our schools are safe. And what I think happens there is they're gaslighting. No, it's not gaslighting. That's the wrong word. There's a dynamic where we've all gone to school. This is why I call us all, we're all school injured at this point. We all went to school, and in school we learned teacher knows everything. The teacher is the harbinger of all truth. And so the school is held in the highest esteem above the parents, because the parents, when they send the child to school, they are tacitly telling the child, and sometimes verbally telling the child, the school knows better than I do. Trust the school. First and foremost, trust the school. So we see negative, horrible things happening at school, but we had 12 years of indoctrination to have the default of trust the school. So the school superintendent comes out and denying the reality that is laid out before her. She makes the announcement, our schools are safe. Nobody challenges her on that except me. I was on the air, so I challenged it. I'm like, wait, what? What did she just say? That's demonstrably untrue. First of all, a young woman died. And secondly, 2 other young women are going to jail from what happened in school. So that ought to tell you our schools are not safe. Now you can come out and say, we're going to make our schools safer. We will do everything in our power to whatever, anti-bullying, bull, whatever. But don't like throw in my face an abject lie, except, right? We've all been conditioned to accept the lies as truth. They're the new truth, because the school is the ultimate authority on truth. Because we had 12 years of indoctrination that the school had the truth. Do you see? And so it's kind of what makes my job so challenging or so difficult is I'm actually challenging the national zeitgeist, or whatever you want to call it, the national accepted dogma that schools are good and true. And they're not. They're demonstrably not. But no, I don't want to believe my lying eyes. And so despite there have been so many school shootings and attempted school shootings, and we don't even hear about the attempted school shootings. I have to say, when I just read this article and it delineated several school shootings, and I read the article and I'm like, that's pretty, it's pretty impressive. The number of bad school violence that's been thwarted by the authorities. That's pretty good. Like, it's impressive. And yet they missed the guy in Uvalde. And the latest I read, and I'm not keeping up like fully with it, but my understanding was initially we thought the teacher had propped open the door or had left the door propped open. So they put a rock in the door so that it doesn't lock, so teachers don't have to fumble around for their keys or whatever. And that's always dangerous because the doors are locked for a reason. But, it's Uvalde and everybody's nice and we're all good and everything's fine. Now I read the story is that there was a teacher who saw the shooter. So she unpropped open the door. She kicked the stone away, went through and shut the door, but it didn't close all the way, which kind of begs credulity in a sense, because if you're at all concerned, you make sure you hear the door click. You make sure you hear the close. Or was she just running, scared at that point? In which case, why didn't she call the police right away? There's a kid with a gun and he just shot two people, or he crashed his car or whatever. Like, it was odd behavior that he was already exhibiting, apparently, according to this latest report that the teacher witnessed. So what did she do about it? She kicked the stone out of the way and then she didn't bother to see if the door shut behind her. No, I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. William Landon Smith, a 31-year-old former science teacher at Cape Fear High School in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Again, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Charged with 27 counts of first-degree sexual exploitation of a minor, 28 counts of indecent liberties with a student, and 1 count secretly using or installing a photographic imaging device to arouse or gratify sexual desire. Charged on March 18th. Accused of inappropriately communicating with students via social media apps like Snapchat when he was a teacher. John M. Doty, 35-year-old former biology teacher at Career Academy, South Bend in Indiana. I love the names of these schools are like, yay for school academy. And yet here you've got a biology teacher charged with 2 counts of rape, 1 count of attempted rape, and 6 counts of child seduction. But don't worry, your children are safe. Trust the schools. The schools will take care of your children for you, so you don't have to. I tell you, come to the conference, Playbook for Home Learning, June 24 and 25, and I will free you from the school abuse that you have suffered and heal some of the injuries that you parents have undergone from going to school, from attending school for 12 years of your life. 16 if you count college, right? Doty is accused of repeatedly raping a 16-year-old female student and threatening to kill her. It's better if you rape the younger ones because they're less liable to speak up, especially if you're in authority over her, like you're her teacher, and so you control her grade, and her parents are only concerned about her grade. And why is she not dressing as nicely as she used to? That's weird. She's just going through a phase. Kids. No, you don't know kids because you send them away from you every day. So you never get to know your kids. Good Lord, I'm going to start crying. It's just awful. It's awful what we are doing to young children in the guise of education, in the guise of helping them, in the guise of progress, in the guise of, well, I don't want to stand out and be different than the crowd. the guise of conformity, which is something that we are taught has a high value. We're taught that for 12 years in our public schools. Daniel Fisher, 29-year-old former substitute teacher in Roxana and Alton school districts, was charged with criminal sexual assault and aggravated criminal sexual abuse. Accused of sexually assaulting 2 teenage male students at her home in Edwardsville during summer break last year. Madison County grand jury later added child pornography to the charges. Good Lord. For some reason in this article, they are highlighting a number of women, and my understanding was that there weren't that many women. So I'm wondering why it's. Anyway, Department of Education's 2000 report claimed that nearly 9.6% of students are targets of educator sexual misconduct sometime during their school career. 9.6%, that's almost 1/10. That's almost 1 out of every 10 students. Are you willing to take that risk with your child? I guess so. So many parents seem to be fine with taking that risk. Yeah, the risk that they get shot up in school is low. It's still there though. Like, it's still there. And I don't know how the parents who were prevented from going into Uvalde's school by the police, or how the police themselves can sleep at night. Do you? You got me. Educator sexual abuse is a major problem that largely gets ignored because it's so uncomfortable to talk about. She's Erica Sanzi is the director of outreach for Parents Defending Education. She said, she also said this: while a very small fraction of educators and school employees prey on the children in their care, one bad actor can do damage to many students. I don't think that she advocates for pulling your kids out of school. I think she's probably advocating. There's a bipartisan bill in Rhode Island that would make it a crime for a teacher or person of authority to have sexual contact with someone under the age of 18. Excuse me, that's not already a crime? And by the way, do you really think that a new law that makes it criminal will prevent it? What are you thinking? What are you people thinking? And where do you suppose the teachers came from? These sexually promiscuous and criminal, or virtually criminal teachers, where do you think they came from? They were raised in schools, and then they went to teaching colleges, and where they were told that they should go to transgender conferences where they will learn about mutual masturbation and penetration and goodness, sex toys and all of that stuff. And then they're turned loose on children. And they're taught that children are sexual beings and that they need to be liberated from the conformity values of a staid and Puritan society. You think you're not dealing with ideologues in your schools? Parents, come on. I need you to wake up. Wake up. Time's a wasting. Your children are at risk. By the way, that last federally commissioned study on sexual abuse in schools was back in 2004. That's before smartphones. So do you think, I don't know, let's do just ask yourself, do you think it's gotten worse or better since 2004 determined that roughly 10% of all students would undergo some kind of sexual abuse in school? And by the way, I would put you that sexual abuse happens every day in school to all children, because now they've adopted a new tool to teach kids about sexuality, and it's called the sexualitry. Sexualitry. It's a tree that teaches all about sexuality. It's developed by Karen Rain and Sam Killerman. Sam Killerman designed the genderbread person, which they claim has been downloaded and used millions of times the world over. And I can attest to that, although I don't know that it's necessarily in the same way that they think it is, because I downloaded it and I put it in my book. It's in my first homeschooling book, They're Your Kids, in this book. And let me see if I can find it just quickly, because this thing raises the issue of sexuality with young children. It has no place in our schools. Here it is. It's not in color. You can find it in color online, The Genderbread Person. And so it talks about your gender identity, your gender expression, and then your biological sex, as if those were separate and issues. And then there's who you're sexually attracted to and who you're romantically attracted to. And then they create little worksheets with questions for young children. There have been other instances. I'm just going to read from the book for a minute. There have been other instances in this district that I'm discussing in the book of students being coached on asking each other if it's okay to take their clothes off. Is it okay if I take my clothes off right now? I'm just going to take off. Is that okay? And by the way, let's have teacher role play. Let's have teacher role play that. You parents that send your children into that environment, I don't know what you're thinking, but I think you're not thinking. I think you've been programmed by a system that wants your children, because this is grooming. That's all this is. And so now they have the sexuality. Educators are also encouraged to give students note cards and invite students, this is a quote, invite students to decide at which level they think their aspects are most important, relevant to someone's sexuality. After students learn about the sexualized tree, educators are called to turn the dialogue over to the students. So you students, you go ahead and have an orgy while I get some grading done. Questions for students include, what might this mean to them to consider sexuality in this way? What can they learn from this as it applies to their personal lives? How might this framework help them in dialogue with their families and friends and partners? Because that's important. The overview states there is no minimum level of intimate sexual experience necessary to qualify one as having legitimate sexuality, which many parents would likely contest. This is one of the co-creators, Neely. The accompanying advice on using the sexuality in the classroom provides guidance on how to introduce this topic to teenagers, underscoring that this lesson encourages the introduction of a number of highly sensitive and personal topics to young people who may or may not be intellectually or emotionally prepared to explore these issues. They don't care if the child's emotionally available or able to process. They prefer if the child is not. Because then the earlier you abuse a child, the easier it is to control that child. Look at you guys, you parents who continue to send your children to school. You're just in the clutches of the school district. You're just being controlled. You're like puppets. You're marionettes. Oh, I'm afraid my child won't get educated. You think your child's getting educated in school? What kind of ninny are you? All right, so I'm going to, I'm going to take a break here because I just find this all terribly disgusting. And yeah, I need to take a break. But before I do, I want you to consider coming to the Playbook for Home Learning Conference. It's June 24 and 25. It will be worth your while. Even if you don't have children, even if your children are grown, it will give you a different way to think about education, which is an important thing because you'll be able to go back and unpack how education affected you and how you've been injured by school in order to maybe help your grandchildren now, right? So come to the conference, go to samsorbo.com for all the information you need. Tickets are selling fast, so do hurry because we're getting close now. And I hope to see you there. I'm Sam Sorbo. This is the Sam Sorbo Show.